Hello again. I've made some pretty good progress on this RPG system that I've been building in Roblox Studio, mostly regarding setting up NPCs, but also getting some of the other major mechanics put in, like finishing hooking up battle quick time events, and I think I even did a few updates to some of the mod stuff. I can't remember exactly everything that I've done since the last devlog, so I'll focus on some of the big stuff. If I enter play mode here, you'll notice there's all these blocks everywhere with text on them. These are the NPCs that I've set up. So you click on it, and it shows a text box. You can click the button at the bottom to advance the text box, as well as skip to the end of the text, and it'll even play sound effects. And you can change the sound effects too. It does like change the size of the text as it types it out, because the text is meant to be scaled to the text box automatically. I'm not sure yet how to fix that. I might just leave it because it works fine enough. There's rich text, so it's possible to like display variable values in the text. So if you want to display a value that updates, you can put a reference into it and it'll parse it properly. I can have battles from the NPC. So you can make it start a battle. And I've got a bunch of mods equipped right now. Well, some mods equipped right now. But yeah, the battles play out exactly the same as from the random encounters. And I believe, yeah, I also have a branching system set up so it can detect if you've won or lost the battle and do different things. I've added a trading menu, so you can trade items for other items. It can use items in whatever lists you want. And you can just specify all the trading and stuff within the NPC itself. And if you have the items you need for the trade, you'll be able to confirm. Otherwise, you can always just close it. This NPC increments the game variables. You can also have the NPCs increment like game variables, which I believe are defined in the config file, I think. It's either config or the saving file, but these game variables can be used for things like progression in the story and cutscenes and stuff like that. NPCs can also control the camera. And you can like have it locked to a certain position or be freed up. And they'll always free up the camera, hide the text box every time the NPC ends. They can give and take items as well. And of course, there's a condition to detect if you have certain items. And then that's another example of the conditional jump. Oh, whoops. When setting up the camera thing for the NPCs, it's one of the first things I did before I even got the NPC set up. But it made this little camera zone thing, so when you walk in, it locks the camera into a specific place. I can't have the camera... I don't know how to make the camera sort of smoothly slide back into position in like free camera mode like this, because you won't really know where the player is going to be and where the camera needs to be relative to them. So for now, it just sort of snaps back into place. I don't know if I'm going to use this in whatever game I make with this, but it's in here, so that's kind of nice. I can't remember if I showed off the rebirth system yet, but it's there. You can rebirth and select mods to rebirth with to become permamods. Well, you select a mod that you have when you rebirth to become a permamod, and it also requires a certain level to rebirth. I also can't remember if I added, whoops, the icons yet, but the mods have like icons too. Anyway, let me show off the NPC system. I tied in the battle quick time events to the main attack just to test with like changing the amount of damage dealt based off of the result, but that's pretty straightforward. There's not much to show there. The main thing is these NPCs. If I go to workspace, NPC interaction tutorials, if I say go to text box's example here, you'll see it has an NPC script. This is the same for all the NPCs. Very simple. It just basically does the highlight when you're hovering over it and triggers the interaction when it's clicked. The interactions are stored in a folder, and this one only has one interaction, but you can make multiple interactions and give them conditions to play. So if certain conditions are met, it'll play one set of actions instead of another. And it goes from like the top down, so like it'll try to do the furthest down interaction it has, like the highest number one. So like in the case of this one here, the item giving and taking example, interaction 1 always doesn't have conditions. It's the default, but interaction 2 does have conditions, and it will take priority if its conditions are met. Whatever the highest number interaction is takes priority if its conditions are met, which in this case is player has item. And it's a detects if the player has a certain item, and they have like a min and max amount ones. Setting one of these to negative means that it doesn't get checked. And then you can see in the actions folder for each one, it has a list of the different actions, like changing the item amount, showing a text box, and it will run through these one after the other unless there's a jumping action involved. In the case of, say, where is it? Conditional jump example. You'll see there's a lot of actions here, and that's because I have a conditional jump for whether or not you have the item that jumps to number 5 if you do, and then that will just automatically move on to number 6. Whereas if you don't, it instead moves to the next step for if you don't have the item, and then it does a non-conditional jump where it always jumps to number 6, so it skips over the action for if you do have the item. It's very similar to how very low-level machine code of computers works with conditional jumping, where like it checks a condition, if it matches, it jumps to a certain step, otherwise it just goes to the next step. And then there's just a straight jump command that just jumps no matter what. And it could jump forward and backward. That's how you'd set up conditions and stuff. And in replicated storage, I've got a conditions folder, and this is both used for both the cutscene interaction conditions, the conditional jump conditions, and the conditions for whether a mod should activate in battle. And they all share the same conditions, basically, to make things simple. And they all have like little templates here to just put into a conditions folder for something. And then I believe I also have cutscene actions here, and these are all the different actions. You can change an item amount, change a number variable, do a conditional jump, fix the cam in place, free the camera so the player can move it around as they want. You can hide a text box, show a text box, do a non-conditional jump, set a number variable to a specific value. Change number variable means like incrementing or like changing how much it is, like adding or subtracting from it. Whereas setting it just means you set it to flat value. And finally, start battle, where you can start a battle. And it also has its own jump thing here, so you can specify an action to jump to if you... I believe this is for when you win the battle, I think. Oh no, on lose. If you lose the battle, it jumps you to a certain action if you've specified it. And a toggle for if you can flee. But yeah, now that I've got the NPCs set up for this game, I think the only major thing I can think of currently needing to add is a ranking board for the PvP arena, but that doesn't really interact with anything except the PvP arena, so I can probably add that later. For now, I'm kind of thinking of making almost a tutorial game out of this, sort of like an expo hall showing off all the different features of this kit, and with a bunch of different NPCs set up that tell you how these things work and demonstrate them. And this can both be a way to help me test these different features, so I can see what is working and what isn't, make sure everything is functioning properly by just having all these different tests set up. But it'll also be a nice tutorial, so if I publish this kit, I could publish it as that like tutorial experience, and then someone can go through that and see all of the features and learn how they work and stuff. The idea is hopefully that this wouldn't require any coding knowledge outside of changing things like config here, where it has just a bunch of different values set in it, or I suppose also the saving script. Yeah, because that's where the game variables are specified, which maybe I could try adding that to the config, but I think I could try adding the data template to the config, but I might leave it in saving. I'm not sure yet. For now, my main goal is just going to be to get this demo experience set up with all of its different like sections for different topics and stuff, and it'll just show off all the mechanics and how they work. That'll take a lot of work to do, but I think it'll be a much more fun way of making a tutorial for this than making like videos or documents, because I don't really want to do that. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Hopefully I'll have another video about this project up at some point if I can keep going with this. I do hope to eventually have this kit posted and then maybe make a game out of it, but we'll just have to see. Thank you for... I'll see you next time.